Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for another office hours training. I am Crystal L. Gunn, your financial strategist and small business advisor. And part of my job as a strategist, be it in the business or on your personal side, is to help you create a solid financial relationship or a strong business base or foundation on which you can grow. I also help you have some aha moments, some self-discovery moments, and helping you see what no longer serves you so that you can release them and soar. Oh, that helps with the breakthroughs. That's where you start to shift. That's where the magic happens, be it in your personal finances or your overall business. So it's Tuesday. Let's talk credit. And I've given information on credit basics, how to start to clean up your credit report. And last week we started talking about mistakes that people make with their credit cards. So go back, watch those episodes. So let's go over some more mistakes people make with credit cards and what you should consider. Go back and watch last week's episode, credit episode, and I will discuss a few more next week as well. So today, let's talk about missing credit card payments. It happens. It happens to the best of us, right? Especially with everything that's going on economically in the world today. People are living paycheck to paycheck. The cost of everything is just absolutely through the roof. I went and had like the best sandwich yesterday, and it was like $13. No chips, no fries. It was like $13, and it was probably this big. It was delicious, but I was like, I have to make this at home because just in my right mind, whether I have the $13 or not, it was just like every time I want one, I'm going to go pay $13, where I could take that $13 and buy some of the stuff and make that sandwich 13 times. And so anyway, I digress. But there's so much going on economically around the world. So I understand what people are having these financial hiccups and all of the stuff. And so part of what I do is try to help you in with some of these office hours is to help you put things in place so that you don't have some of the hiccups, right? Some of the missteps that will cost you in the long run. So missing credit card payments. So here I'm going to go over 5 reasons you don't want to miss a credit card payment. The first one is late fees. Now, if you've been following me for any time, you know I don't like paying for anything that we don't need to pay for. Nothing that you can justify that payment for. And a late fee is definitely one of them, right? And so it's the immediate consequence of missing a late um of missing a payment is that late fee. That's the thing that happens initially. And so credit card companies typically charge a fee if your payment is even 1 day late. So you want to make sure that you are making that payment on time. And when I get through this list, I'm going to talk about some things and some techniques you can put in place so things like this don't happen. So late fees. That's number one thing that happens when you miss a credit card payment. The other thing that could happen is increased interest rates. So missing a payment may trigger a penalty interest rate, which is often way higher than the standard rate. And this penalty rate can apply to your existing balance, which is now crazy, right? And any future purchases, significantly increasing the cost of carrying that balance. We did talk about last credit episode, carrying a balance on your credit cards. The third thing that can happen is a credit score drop. And payment history is a major factor in your credit score calculation. It's 35% of your FICO score. So that missed payment can cause a significant drop in your score, especially if you had a high credit score to begin with, right? And so anytime anything negative happens with your credit, the impact happens immediately with whatever the impact was. If it's a missed payment, a um if it's a collection account that hits, right? You're going to see the impact of that on your score immediately. So having that 30-day late is going to drop your score. The other thing where it doesn't have the same impact of a 30-day late, slow pays will start to decrease your credit score. So a slow pay is, the payment was due on the 5th, but you didn't make it until the 20th. Well, it wasn't 30 days late, but it also wasn't paid by the due date. So you got a late fee, and now you're also having a negative impact on your score. The fourth impact is negative marks on your credit report. So a missed payment can be reported to your credit bureaus once it's 30 days late. So that late payment, I'm sorry, that slow pay, because it's not 30 days, will not show up on your credit report. But that 30-day late is going to show up on your credit report, and it's going to remain, that history is going to remain for up to 7 years. And I've had people asking me when we're doing credit repair or, credit restoration, as I like to call it. I've had people ask me, well, they had I don't know, let's just say a Visa card, and they didn't pay it, and it got bought by a collection. And they're like, well, it got bought by a collection and now it's with a collection account. What will the history on the Visa card, now that it's closed and all of that, will it go away? And the answer is no. It's still going to stay there. It's still part of your history. It's just whatever the update is. If they've sold it, if they've charged it off, that update is going to show. And now you also have that collection account reporting. So the negative marks on your credit report, that 30-day late, is definitely going to show up on your credit report, and it's going to stay there, right? And it can stay there for up to 7 years, right? And the fifth mistake people make is, um, or what happens as a result, is difficulty accessing new credit. So with that lower credit score from the late payments and all of that, and the negative marks on your credit report, it can be more difficult to qualify for new credit. And that's credit cards, auto payments, a mortgage. So it will have a negative impact. And if you are approved for new lines of credit or any other type of credit, you may face higher interest rates or less favorable terms due to the increased rather risk you now propose to lenders because of those missed late payments. And so again, I understand with the extremely high prices of everything, a lot of people are using their credit cards to supplement, and that is evidenced by that $1.8 trillion in collective credit card debt across the nation. And I'm not advising people to pay off their credit cards or any other debt if they can't, or if it's not crucial, right? Because for some, it's going to get you out of the mess that you're in. But for most, they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're using their credit cards to supplement. Most people can't pay off their debt anyway, right? So you really, and again, now more than ever, it's time to take a hard look at what you are putting on those credit cards, right? It's one thing if you're putting, you had to pay the water bill to keep the water bill from being cut off. But it's another thing to be putting on there, new gym shoes and new TVs, right? And so with everything happening in the economy, you have to be really, really intentional with how you're spending your money and what you're using your credit for, right? So it's just time to move away from buying more things. And I think there is always a reason. It's like me, I can find like the good in everything, but now is a time really and truly that you should be getting your finances in order, because things will get better, but they're going to get a little worse first, maybe a lot worse. They're going to get worse first before they get better. And so now, a time when you need to be cutting back on things anyway, or have to cut back on things anyway, Let's work to get your financial relationship where it needs to be. Let's build an efficient and effective budget so that when you come out of this thing, when all of this stuff flips to the good, you already have a process in place that's intentional, right? That you can then grow from, and you will do far better than the person who did not do this, okay? Who did not do and heal their financial relationship. So let's just take the time. It's almost like when we had the shutdown to the pandemic. And there's words that there's things coming, like there will be another lockdown. But people had to adjust the way that they did things. For some, they found that business that they had on the side, that home-based business that they had on the side, was the thing that sustained them, and they didn't go back to work. They built that business. So there was some good that came out of that, and because people were forced to focus on a thing, right? In a lot of cases for survival. So let's take the time right now when things are in this crazy disarray, where finances, I mean, where everything is cost so much money, and figure out that budget now, that efficient and effective budget, so that when you come out of this, when we're through this mess, when the good is revealed, that you already have an effective system in place that works in your behalf. Take this time for healing, right? Take the time for healing. So, next steps. Oh no, my favorite things, the credit check. Like, again, people are going through so much right now. This 1 hour check can help you with a strategy, like a next step. It can keep you from doing something that you think you should be doing to help you, but it really doesn't help you. And I can offer up something different, right? So get the credit check, do the credit checkup, either business or personal. The link is in the description. And the to do things. We know, again, life is about a journey. Everything is a journey. It's all about your elevation. And there's so much to learn in the journey. The journey is key. People want to just jump to, the destination. I just want to have, 800 credit score. So it's a journey to get there, right? It's a journey, it's a process. And it's vital that you learn the stuff, which is why the journey is so important, that you learn the lessons that have shown up during the journey, so that when you get to the destination, it's bittersweet. I mean, it's sweet, but you don't you don't fall back to where you were because you didn't learn the things that you needed to do in order to maintain that 700 or 800 credit score, right? And so people will ask me, well, Crystal, do you do credit repair? And I'm like, yeah, I can help you. We can do that. But I'm also going to teach you how to build it and how to use it effectively, because what you cannot do is keep coming back to me. Now, does that wind up being, more cost coming my way? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, this is all about really educating and helping you get financially free. And if you don't learn the things that you need to do in order to maintain and continue to grow, what was the point? Right? So, things to do: pull your credit card statements. Your credit card statements. You ultimately want to wind up doing this with whatever credit, but we're going to start with your credit card statements. Pull your credit card statements and determine what is the due date. You will hear people talk about, oh, this date, and you want to pay twice, and you want to do this, and you want to do that, talking about when you should pay your credit card. Pay by the due date. If you get that down, if you master that, that's a big win, right? If you master that, that is a huge win. So you want to make sure to pull your credit card statements and figure out what's the due date, right? And then you want to determine the minimum payment and the accrued interest, right? So on the statement, it's going to tell you what your minimum payment is. $27, $57, $129, depending upon, what your balance is. So what's that minimum payment? The second thing that you want to look up is go back to the transactions and see how much you were being charged in interest for this last bill. So let's say your minimum payment is $47 and the accrued interest is, I don't know, $100, just so we can do some easy math here. Um, so your minimum payment is $47. The interest that you owe is $100. You then want to set up an automatic bill pay for at least that minimum payment and the interest. So that 147. If you cannot, you want to set up automatic bill pay at least for that minimum payment, right? And so you want to go into your bank account. You don't go to Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover and let them pull from your bank account. You go into your bank account, set up automatic payment for your payment to automatically go to your credit card, to the credit card company by the due date, right? Automatically go by the due date. If we were at a point where you were using the credit effectively, like, and I know I've talked about it in some past episodes, every credit card that you earn should also have a job, right? And so if a credit card had the job of, let's just say, your gas and lights bill, and that was $200 per month, and that was the only thing that you were using that card for, you would set up that automatic payment to go $200 or a little less or a little more, but it's not going to vary that much. Or your phone bill. If the phone bill is the one thing that's going on this credit card, your phone bill is $100 every single month. You're going to set up that automatic payment from your bill pay on your checking account to go pay that $100 on your credit card, because the phone company bills your credit card. Now you're sending the credit card payment from your bill pay account by the due date. That automation is going to be critical, right? For two things: always being able to pay your bills on time, not having any late payments, right? But then if you can only pay if you have these cards that have this balance, that's part of the reason why you want to pay the interest. Because if you're only paying a minimum payment, it's typically not covering the amount of interest owed, right, that had been accrued. And so you see your balance is not going down. I've had people say, Krista, I've been paying on this, but my balance doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And I'm like, okay, well, how much are you paying? And they'll say, well, I'm paying $75 per month. And I'm like, okay, what's your minimum payment? And they'll say, okay, $30. Okay, well, tell me how much interest was just accrued on that thing. And they'll say, whatever it is. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's only $3 or $5 going to the principal balance. So you're not paying enough if you're carrying a balance. So if you can pay that minimum payment plus whatever that accrued interest was, and you can listen, if last month the accrued interest was $100 and this month so you're paying the 147, the minimum payment plus that interest, you're paying 147. Well, now if next month the minimum payment is 47, but let's say the interest is 110, you still have automatic payment to hit for the 147. So now it should be 157, but at least all of that 110 is not just being added on top of your balance, right? You can go back in and pay that $10 later, right? But we have this automatic payment that's happening by the due date that's keep making sure you're never late on those payments, right? So if this information has been helpful, please subscribe to my channel and be sure to turn notifications on. Share this channel with somebody. You never know who's going through what they're going through. Most people who are going through financial issues, if you're watching this and let's say you're going through a financial issue, most people are going through financial issues and they're not talking about it. They're not telling you. Doesn't even matter if they're your best friend. They're not telling you, right? So share it with somebody, be a blessing. Also, if you are in need of personal or business strategy, a personal or credit checkup, look, let's talk about it. The links for the scheduling and/or consultations are below. Life insurance, powers of attorney. Let's talk about those things. Don't sit there in the dark in the same place. Don't be in the same place 3 months, 6 months from now. Don't let everything that's happening not be a benefit to you. Okay? And always remember, give yourself some grace. Keep striving. Never give up on you. Invest in you. I promise you, it is the best investment you will ever make. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Be sure to join me for the private online Q&A immediately following. The link is in the description. And if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you never miss this opportunity. Thank you again, and I will see you on the other side.